So this video is to show you how to unpick your knitting. It's also called tinking. So if you found that here you've done some knitting on the plain side and here you've done a mistake perhaps and you want to unpick back to here to fix it, this is what you do. So feel free to really stretch your knitting around so you can understand what's going on. So we need to put our left hand needle into the stitch below. So the row below. The row below what's knitted here is going to end up, those stitches are going to end up here, back again on the left hand needle. So we look for the hole directly, this is the stitch, and the hole here, directly below the stitch. And we put the tip of our left hand needle into the hole, and then we've got the stitch back on to the left hand needle, and we just let it go off the right hand needle. And there we are, we've unpicked one stitch. So if you're having trouble trying to find this hole underneath, you can pull it down with your left hand pinching fingers, pull your knitting down and feel, there it is. And also I'm using my working yarn to, if I pull it this way I won't see too much, but if I pull it that way it helps me open up that hole so I can find it. And then I put my left hand needle in again and pull the stitch off. So I'm going to unpick back to the end of this row, and this is how you unpick on the knit side of your fabric. So I'll show you again. We look for the loop or the hole or the stitch directly underneath the stitch that's on the right hand needle, and we're going to put the left hand needle, the point, into that hole like this, and then just slip it off the right hand needle, and there we are. And again, and just pulling the knitting around. It's very elastic, your knitting, so you can be rougher than what you think. But it's really important to pull the knitting around so you can understand how a stitch is made. There we are, we've got one more here, and the very last one. The very last one is sometimes the hardest because it looks quite knobbly. There, so that's how to unpick your knitting on the knit side. So now I'm going to show you, we're going to unpick again on the purl side. So, swapping over, I always knit my first and last stitches on the purl side to keep the sides even. So now we are back to a purl stitch, and we always have the yarn to the front on a purl stitch. And so we're going to find this is the purl stitch here, and the row underneath is going to be a bump, a horizontal bump going from left to right. So we have to, if we maneuver our knitting by pinching down with our left hand fingers and moving this yarn, and if I move it that way, you can see it creates a hole. So again, I'm going to put the tip of my left hand needle into that hole like that, and then just let it go. Oops, I spat on myself. And it's back where it's meant to be on the left hand side. And here, so I'll show you again. I'm going to pull down the knitting with the left hand, pinching fingers, to try to find that hole, and I can move my working yarn up in this direction that stretches the hole so I can really see it there. And I'm going to put my left hand, the point of my left hand needle in through and pull it off. So this is called tinking or unpicking your knitting. So that looks quite slow, and it's a good idea to do it slow when you're first starting, but it doesn't end up being slow. I'm going to show you a little bit. You can see it can move along. So I'll show you one more time, slowly. So I'm pinching down the fabric down here so I can find this loop underneath the stitch. And I'm moving my working yarn over forward so I can really find that hole. And there it is. I put my left hand needle in and through and off. There. So that's how to undo or unpick or tinker your knitting.